How do you even know about that?
I know everything, Eddie.
You do?
Everything about you.
How?
I am inside your head. You are a loser, Eddie.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and I've been talking to Larry from Larry's Comics on the channel about some of the connective tissue between Null and maybe Dawn of X, and it feels like there's something there with Thor, and we got some new information this week, and here to talk with me about that is the man himself. Larry, how you doing?
Wes, thanks for having me back on the show. Always excited to talk about Null. A lot of fun developments this week, huh?
Absolutely. And if you enjoy this video, please give us a thumbs up. If you're enjoying the content and you haven't subscribed to Thinking Critical yet, subscribe to the channel. If it's your first time, take a look around. This might be some place that you want to revisit in the future, and subscribe to the channel. All right, Larry. So we were talking about this just like last week, and now we have information that maybe Empyre, the big event that launched for Marvel Comics last Wednesday, and King in Black are somehow tied, because now we have a Web of Venom Empyre's End comic book.
Before we get into the newly announced Null book that's coming out after the first week in September when Empyre ends, I love print comics, and I'm not a big digital comics proponent, but Marvel this week released the Wraith series digitally, and that's got a lot of spoilers for the whole Null lore in that. And just anybody listening doesn't want to know, fast forward over me, because I'm gonna just spill it. You guys know, because of his white hair and space, I thought that Wraith was definitely going to be a son of Null, and turns out kind of related. When he finally hunts down Null, corners him, and Null doesn't know who he is, but recognizes that he contains some of his power, some of his essence, and he rips it out of him. And then the big spoiler is Wraith discovers that Null's headed towards Earth, but there's also a god of light equally as powerful as Null heading towards Earth too at the same time. And it just, I don't know. That's kind of losing me. Kind of random.
Yeah, well, obviously,
weird.
Wraith is associated with Guardians of the Galaxy. Donny
Yep.
Cates just finished up his Guardians of the Galaxy run. Do you think it was always planned that Guardians of the Galaxy was going to kind of tie into this big Null is coming to Earth event?
Yeah, well, when he was writing Guardians of the Galaxy, Wraith was on a sub team, and Wraith was hunting Null. So that connective tissue is always there. So, and they're in space.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's in space.
Absolutely. We're going to the Marvel's new space age apparently coming up. Now, you're not happy about the God of Light, because you think Deus Ex Machina, MacGuffin, you could call it a plot device.
Yeah, you get to the end of a story. I want to see all the elements that you've seeded over the years come together in a cohesive way. I don't want big bad bonus shooter drop at the end, to make. So now, what I'm seeing the black energy guys coming and the white guy, and they're going to cancel each other out at Earth and let Earth win. I mean, it just seems like there's a convenient way out of this right now. I fucking hate that. If the God of Light had been hinted at, back in Venom 1 and when all this started, I'd have no problem. And if I've missed that, anybody in the chat, let me know. Has there ever been any hint that there's another being? Maybe in some of the
Silver Surfer Black is where it would be, I think.
Yeah, because you got the light energy, the dark energy. I got to go back and reread it all. That's a shooter drop that I just didn't see coming. Maybe all the clues and connective tissue are out there. But if it's random and it's just being interjected now, that sucks. I don't like that.
So let's move over to the Web of Venom Empyre's End. So obviously Empyre was coming out. Not a lot of enthusiasm for the time, but it sold better than anyone anticipated, likely due to the dearth of product on the shelves. Marvel does have a big event. People want to buy comic books, so it's doing better than we anticipated. And now we have the information that Empyre is going to be related to King in Black, which I'm certain after the reception of Absolute Carnage, they knew was going to be a ginormous hit, that people were going to be very interested in it. Do you think that there's a real connection between Empyre and King in Black, or do you think this is just Marvel making shit up so that they can tie them together and maybe get people to buy into Empyre.
If Null's coming from space and Empyre's out in space, the Null wave at some point is going to come through. So I always thought they'd be kind of connected. But this one shot coming out after just seems so random, and the creative team, this seems like Legion of Doofuses scrambling, you know what I mean, to add a cheaper one shot that, cannibalizes some of the sales from Donny Cates' Null and Venom and interjects it into Empyre. I mean, I had people yesterday saying, fuck, I have to read Empyre now. It's connected to Null. I mean, that's the best thing they have going.
Because just reading Empyre in the first issue, if it connects to anything, it feels like it should connect to the stuff that's happening in Dawn of X. In X-Men, we got the horticulture old ladies using plant, based weapons and stuff like that. And X-Force, you got this like pyramid of like plant god worshiping people.
When they're illustrating the plant-based powers, if you look at it, the plant is all organic and swirling, and they're illustrating with like a black, almost symbiote type texture to them. And it's in space. I mean, I don't know.
All right, so you think the plant creatures are the connective tissue between X-Men, Empyre,
I'm just
and
spitballing here. That's part of the fun, of comic books, is coming into the store and flipping through the stuff and everybody being an armchair quarterback. I mean, that's part of what I like about this stuff coming out weekly, is you get to meet the same people and you guys, talk over theories. I mean, but it's just part of being a fan. I'm just throwing it out there. I'd say that's unlikely, but just something that I noticed.
Empyre, I don't see it really connecting directly with King in Black. It doesn't. The events don't feel like they were ever meant to be related. But I can see why Marvel would put this comic book out there and create some connective tissue. It wouldn't really be that hard. After Empyre, you have a couple of secondary characters going off on an unknown mission, and on the way they run into Null and his army, and they get wiped out. There you got Empire's End, right?
If you're in space, they're coming. I hear a lot of people complaining about, all these crossovers and feeling overwhelmed that they have to read it all. As a fan, I've always liked when, if you're reading Spider-Man, they acknowledge that the Avengers and Fantastic Four do exist in that universe, and they cross over a bit. You can really, you don't have to feel overwhelmed that you have to go down every single rabbit hole. I mean, you can pick and choose, to whatever level you're comfortable with. But I like to take comfort at night that, the editors are all communicating and this is all happening in the same connective world. So yeah, if the Fantastic Four is in space and Null's coming, I want somebody to run into Null or acknowledge that there's something coming. I think it makes the line a better line.
Yeah, speaking of like all the tie-ins, I'm not reading the tie-ins for Empyre. I don't care about the event enough. I'm going to read the main series. I'm going to review it on the channel. I'm not even reading the X-Men comic, and I've been a huge X-Men fan. I'm not reading any of the tie-in stuff. I know you've been reading it all, and there was a big surprise in the Emperor Hulkling Legends of Empyre one shot or something it's called.
Well, I like superhero comics with action. I didn't like Batman, the all cuddle issue. And, maybe for a similar reason here, I didn't love Hulkling.
It's all about feelings and relationships rather than him.
He's in a relationship, and, you can flip through it and see if it's your thing. That just, I don't know. I like more story and action. Cuddling in comics.
I don't know. Yeah, they're not really exactly building Emperor Hulkling up like he's this great leader. He kind of came off in Empyre #1 as a bit of a pawn. Like he was being played from both sides, and he didn't know what to do. And I guess in this one, he's just laying around.
I don't know if I talked to you since Empyre 1 came out, but I kind of liked Empyre 1 quite a bit. And I'm flipping through number 2. Number 2 looks good. I didn't like the Zero issues at all, and some of the crossovers look weak. But I was blown away how much I kind of enjoyed Empyre #1.
Empyre #1 was
decent looking book.
It was a fine comic book. I would have recommended it if they hadn't given away the big twist at the end at the very beginning. Like it was so transparent and obvious what was going to happen at the end to me at that point. And then there were some points where they were doing a big space battle, and they kept doing close-ups on the characters instead of showing us kind of like where we were and then looking, with the close-ups on the side kind of thing. So I downgraded on the art and given the twist wave. But other than that, yeah, it was a fine comic. Wasn't nearly as bad as expected.
You bring up a good point, Wes, about them kind of telegraphing, who was going to be the little twist. But what's up with, the solicits for Marvel? They spoil what happens after Empire with the Fantastic Four, like the status of them. DC sending out press releases of Batman's new costume 4 months in advance of the issue. I
do appreciate the Jonathan Hickman style. When he did his solicitations, the same solicitation was for every House of X comic book. It was the same solicitation literally 6 times.
Where's the pageantry? Where's the surprise? It seems like the companies are a little too anxious to get their books out, so they're just like giving fans the meat. I don't want to know the status of the Fantastic Four.
Well, I don't think it's
Empire.
really intended for fans. I think it's intended for retailers, and I think they don't have confidence in their own product that you guys are going to want to come and buy in, that they have to tell you everything that's going to happen.
They send the solicitations for new Marvel and DC books go to their shill media sites before they go to retailers. So it's posted. Those shill media sites aren't behind a firewall. Anybody, fans, retailers can go up on those sites and see them. You can see solicits the same time that I see the solicits. So it's written for everybody, and they know damn well that they go up on these sites and that they are available to the public. So they're DC and Marvel are spoiling some content. They're putting it out publicly.
I agree with you, but let's finish it up with talking about Null. And we had talked about we believe the Black Winter, probably his first appearance was actually in Silver Surfer Black #4. We showed the receipts last week when we did that video. And now I'm reading up on a Previews World article, and they're saying that the first appearance of Null was actually 5 years ago in Thor, God of Thunder #6. And this is a comic book that people should be looking out if they're speculators. What do you think about that? Has Marvel really been working for 5 years to set up Null's arrival?
They've been working longer than that. The whole Null saga starts off in Thor 169. And it's in that story, it's the origin of Galactus. And it was, I believe, a Jack Kirby story. And Jack Kirby basically says, Galen becomes Galactus, but it doesn't really tell you. And Donny Cates had said that him and Jason Aaron had found a Jack Kirby story that had one element to the story that had never been talked about. So both of them had the element, like now we know that Galactus was made by the Black Winter and was the original herald of the Black Winter. So we knew back in Thor 169 that Galactus, Galen became Galactus, but we didn't know why or who. And that's the element that they were talking about. And then in Thor #6, it's actually Thor #2 of the Jason Aaron run that has the cameo of Gore. Gore's power is, black and, could be from space. So that Null, I've said the connectivity between Null and the Black Winter could be that the Black Winter's essence is the power of Null, which is the black energy that we see. So Gore had that black energy. So Thor 2 of the Jason Aaron run for cameo, and then 6 for the first full appearance of Gore. And yeah, I think that those are all connected. And I thought that the Previews World article this week, that's the first time really that a major company was soliciting, Jason Aaron's run as a prequel to Donny Cates stuff, which we've always suspected was connected. So I do think there's some connective tissue there. But and then to further that, before Thor 2 and 6. Series in Epic Magazine in the 80s, John Byrne did the Last Galactus story where they talk about a coming darkness. And then on the last page, a character that looks nothing like the Black Nebulous energy, looks more like a Jack Kirby Watcher, shows up and says, don't you remember he who created you? So we know that the Black Winter can appear in many forms. So actually, Epic Magazine number 32, the final page of the John Burns story, could technically be the first appearance of the Black Winter.
And we know this, I think it was last week in Guardians of the Galaxy, there was a big black energy serpent showed up in space.
Ooh, and it's in space. Did it have white hair? Yeah, it all connected, or the Legion of Doofuses are, they rise to a whole new level that we didn't even think they could rise to.
Well, don't sell them short. I'm sure that they can surprise you now and then.
If you like Marvel Comics, a little tip for everybody this week. This is the book. If you're reading the current Spider-Man series and maybe the identity of somebody has kind of been eating at you for 4 years, that's the book you might want to pick up today. That's your little tip.
All right, I'm not going to run the video on this one. You're going to have to tell them the name of the book.
Amazing Spider-Man Sins Rising one-shot, written by Nick Spencer, the guy who also writes the mainline Spider-Man book, and he's been teasing you about something.
So we finally learned the identity of Kindred?
I think so.
All right. Well, let's get this will be out on Wednesday. So hopefully people will know to go out and get that comic book, because that would be very important.
If it's not the identity of Kindred, it's a finger point in the right direction of where the hell Kindred came from.
All right, Larry. I do appreciate all the information, trying to put all the pieces together with Null and all the stuff that's happening with the Black Winter and all of Marvel Comics. Hopefully it's all connected. If it isn't,
it better be connected. You know what? If it's not connected, hopefully the Legion of Doofuses just doesn't water it down so much. Like the creative team on that one shot they announced yesterday ain't too exciting.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.